of like 4 months ago, took a photo on like posted it to Facebook of like, because his dad's the dean of a Christian university in British Columbia, and they had a meeting with the Indian consulate, representatives of the Indian government, about obviously some banal and anodyne thing of like Indian exchange students or whatever.
What's wrong with being a Nazi?
No. That's you read it wrong. It says what's wrong being a Nazi.
Yeah.
What wrong being a Nazi?
Yeah.
Where's sun go? Where's sun go at
night? There's a period in there.
Why moon go down day?
What's wrong?
What's wrong being Nazi?
Being a Nazi is wrong. That's what he's saying. That's great. Thanks, man.
No,
we're apolitical centrists here.
Yeah, we're gonna find out, by the way, that this guy is like the son of 2 rabbis or something.
Trump's idea here. I kind of suspect that Trump is kind of in on a coup against Netanyahu right now. This is just
no. The Democrats tried to do that with Benny Gantz, and it failed spectacularly.
Also, like anybody who delivers a very like earth-shattering like take like that in the voice of of the voice of a Reddit commenter, like you can disregard. Like, so I think what's happening.
Hino Storm, fascist pigs, the same strategy they use in the Middle East, they're using it again here. Look at the Al Jazeera stream. What the f is this huge ass car hurling at them? Egypt. What's wrong with being a Nazi? This guy went from calling Israel correctly fascist to being like, what's wrong with being a fascist? I don't understand. There's just nothing wrong with it. Okay, thanks, chatter. Life comes at you fast. Well, I think you understand what's wrong with being a Nazi, dumbass. You have
to ask.
Like if
that's actually one of the questions where like I don't think in 2025 you can ask that question and expect it to be taken in good faith, because I think everybody knows what's wrong, or at least what's controversial about it.
Also, while simultaneously being anti-Israel, it's the same reason why it's wrong, you moron. Like it's the same exact reason. Okay, the reason why it's wrong to be pro-Israel is identical to the reasons as to why it's wrong to be a Nazi.
Your chat's convinced it was a yoke.
Maybe.
Just my theory, based upon the way he talked about like occupying Gaza and the way he's friends with Jared Kushner and the way he's friends with the Adelsons. I suspect that these powerful Jews, like the Adelson type people, are starting to realize that Netanyahu
Sorry, what did you say? Powerful Jews?
He's noticing. These guys are so lame, dude.
I hate these people, man.
Oh my God.
Yeah, these powerful Jews.
Yeah,
fuck off, man.
Dude, listen, if you really want to piss off, if you really want to piss off pro-Israel groups, just don't even be anti-Semitic. Just be anti-Zionist. Trust me. Like that'll piss them off way more than being anti-Semitic. They're using you as a pawn, which I think this person is aware of, by the way.
Now, I want to pause, by the way. I want to note that I actually think we should note that Hassan is only criticizing somebody right now for being anti-Semitic, because maybe Hassan is actually just himself anti-Semitic. I'm just saying.
No, I'm so much better at anti-Semitism.
And I just think
that's what it is. I'm so much better at anti-Semitism than this guy, man. That's why.
Yeah, you got.
That's what pisses me off.
Yeah, you have to give him pointers.
I'm the master at it. You know what I mean? And it frustrates me to see these amateurs, going on the Joe Rogan Experience and just being novices at being anti-Semitic. Okay, maybe I'm not number one. I'm number two. Candace Owens is number one.
Kind of sinking this ship, and he's kind of it all up, and it's not going well for Israel in the public conversation. Like I can ratio just about anyone I want on Twitter over the.
Oh God!
I'm so sick, Joe Rogan.
I can ratio just about anybody I want on Twitter. That's how people like pretend that like rose emojis talk, when it's just guys like this who talk that way.
Bro, Joe Rogan, you occupy one of the most prominent platforms online, and you're giving 2 hours to a guy who said, I can ratio just about anybody I want. Like,
Israel thing, because the public
soy right is correct. Okay, straight up,
public sentiment is just shifting, and it's not healthy for anyone, for Jewish people or anyone else. And I'd suspect that
this guy who just said powerful Jews definitely cares about the safety of Jewish people.
Powerful Jewish people are starting to see that and are starting to scheme on how do we get Netanyahu out of there and put someone in that can actually move us towards some sort of peace. Because without a genuine desire for
that's what Trump is saying. I can read between the lines when he says, when he brought out that AI video about like the bearded belly dancers in Gaza and how he's going to turn it all into this ugly golden monstrosity. That's what I got. My takeaway was he wants peace. He certainly, when he allows Israel to permanently annex the West Bank in its entirety, he's going to be doing it in a peaceful way. Okay, that's what he's going to do.
Netanyahu is on camera saying that they have propped up Hamas in the Gaza Strip because they don't want a real government in the Gaza Strip, because it's far better for them to run this occupation and to eventually take the land if Hamas is, that's not an exact quote. Everyone should look that up for themselves.
But not just propped up, but funded.
Do your own research.
Exactly, yeah. And intentionally kept there.
Just when you hear that, you're like, well, what's the logic for funding Hamas? What logic?
Well, it's the exact same logic.
These guys are so stupid, man.
I'm willing to bet he's not going to give you the right answer.
Is us funding the Taliban.
Yeah.
It's the exact same logic.
Did you see that?
What? I mean,
I want to ask him who funds the Taliban, who funded the Taliban.
He's going to say the Jews.
Yeah, he'll say, Israel.
Yeah.
He'll give every answer but Pakistan.
Yeah, but also it's like, no, chat. He's not close. He's just a dumbass.
He's just trying
stupid. He's just trying to do
really stupid.
He's a dumbass who's trying to do
strategies. Heal this thing and.
He's trying to do like anti-Semitism, but
I think this guy is like a deep cover anti-Semite.
Want to hear his take on aliens?
A lot of reasons why NASA would cover up and produce fake footage from something like the ISS, and every single one of them rhymes with aliens. Because
oh my God, he's one of those morons too.
Dude,
I love this man.
Dude, I swear to God. First of all, maybe you disagree with me on this, Noah, but I 100% think Alex Jones is controlled opposition.
Yeah,
like,
no. That's what I think about this guy.
I think this guy.
This guy was what I said about he's an agent.
He was on InfoWars. Like, I'm sorry, dude. Alex Jones went from shitting on George W. Bush and saying that like Americans did 9/11, okay, and constantly railing against the surveillance state, while simultaneously talking about aliens and psychic pedophile vampires or whatever, to basically put a couple, crumbs of truth in terms of his commentary and then sandwich it, like package it with like insane shit in an effort to make it seem like only insane people have these positions. And this guy's doing a very similar thing as well. He's like, oh, I'm anti-Zionist, but also deeply anti-Semitic.
You know that this, when I say he was like a deep cover, I mean this guy, the CIA stashed this guy somewhere in middle America and kept him in a house from ages 0 to 18 with the goal of raising him to be the perfect TikTok Alex Jones.
Yeah.
And they knew how to do this obviously 20 years ago before TikTok was ever even conceived of. But my theory could use some work, yes, but I think it's the only thing that explains the situation.
There's any type.
And you do Jewish exceptionalism, which is worse. What? Dude, I feel like you watched the Bad Empanada video and you didn't understand the point that he was making, because he would literally put you in a goddamn cannon. Not literally, of course, I said literally, but he would put you in a cannon in a video game and launch you out of it because he does not have any, he doesn't entertain any kind of anti-Semitic statements. Cope. Okay, you're right. Bad Empanada hates me and he thinks I do Jewish exceptionalism, which is,
hold on. You don't think I'm exceptional?
I think you're exceptional. Check his logs. This is part of the reason why I don't entertain any sort of idiotic anti-Semitic nonsense, because it brings out the dumbest people on the fucking planet. Have a chat with him. I can't. He's banned. Cue Destiny. Touch grass loser chatter. Trump is better for Gaza than Biden. Okay. We'll see. I love Dan Clancy. Long live Dan Clancy. Hinkle is a Nazi. Wait, what? This guy is all over the place. I don't understand where he's coming from. I think he just genuinely didn't understand the point Bad Empanada was probably trying to make in his video. I haven't watched it. I suspect that we have, if I were to watch it, I would leave it thinking that we have a marginal disagreement that he has greatly expanded on, as though it's the most significant point of contention. But this guy is a DGG and LARPing. Oh, that's weird.
Type of aliens going on up here. It's very possible that they are up there in that space station, or they're
He says you lift up Israeli voices more than Palestinian ones. Basically, yeah, that's entirely incorrect. Ian is an ally of Gaza and Palestine. Why are you hating and
Somebody
disparaging
who's
him, brother?
warning against powerful Jews is not an ally. Sorry.
Also,
I'm just gonna
an
come out
ally.
and say that person's not going to help your cause,
Dog,
here, pal.
he's an ally for Gaza and Palestine. He just said Trump is going to actually fix Gaza. He's going to do peace through strength. You're a real moron if you think that that guy is not someone you should worry about.
Yeah, somebody who thinks the Adelson family is doing a coup against Netanyahu is not like a.
Here's the thing, okay? Anti-Semites only care about Jews, okay? They don't care about Palestinians. So if someone is talking about Israel, but they're anti-Semitic, okay? They're only talking about Israel because it gives them a permission to shit on Jews. If you take those people seriously, you will be led astray because their singular focus is on Jews. Okay? You're naive. You're naive for thinking that these people care about Palestinians. They do not. If they did, they wouldn't be using a genocide as a backdrop to talk about how, Jews are the reason why all of this is happening is the Jews, the Talmud. Don't get distracted. Okay? You're dumb as hell. Anyway, Bad Empanada would never entertain anti-Semitism, by the way, so that's why I don't think that person is a real fan. He probably misunderstood what the he was saying, but what Bad Empanada was saying.
They could be, I don't know. And I'm not saying I think they are for sure. I'm just saying that people tend to look at a piece of evidence and jump too quickly on the one explanation that they're sure is right. And sometimes there's other explanations. And aliens apply to so many parts of our world,
God
like
damn,
demons.
Man.
Sound very much like the UAP phenomenon to me, right? There's
Kaya's had enough.
Yeah, this dude used to make videos about monopolization on private equity is a real problem. He drew in a lot of leftists, myself included, with all the corpo bashing. So he set up shop to anti-Semitism pill a bunch of leftists. Have you met this dude, Ian? No. How the would I have met this dude? He's some random TikTok guy. I saw some other shit about this guy. He's like a QAnon guy. January 2024, Michael Flynn reposted one of Ian Carroll's videos about Pizzagate. He says, I don't know about anyone else, but I find this guy's arguments very credible. Hashtag Pizzagate is real. Ian spent most of 2024 campaigning for RFK Jr., known Epstein associate and friend of Rabbi Shmuley. Confirm RFK, the refounding of the Republic OIC starts now. Interesting. Ian has been a huge supporter of billionaire Nicole Shanahan. Nicole Shanahan on Bitcoin, blockchain, AI. Nicole Shanahan is the Google chick, right? Who's also like a huge RFK supporter because they used to date.
Google chick in that she got the money, like her money just comes from Sergey Brin divorcing.
Yeah. Nicole Shanahan went to Stanford, known recruiting center for the CIA, where she met her husband, billionaire. Okay, this thread falls. This thread falls out, dude. Why are conspiracy guys like this? This is why I love QAnon, because Brace only memes on this shit. He doesn't entertain this level of insanity.
I mean, no, Nicole Shanahan is like one of those people who's I feel like I know that this didn't happen, but in my head, the narrative of her life is that her parents put her in a microwave for 2 seconds when she was a baby, and that's just kind of what we're left with now. Because that's the speed at which her brain works, man. She sounds insane. She's never said anything to me that hasn't sounded like somebody trying to sell me a crystal. It's awful.
This is great, by the way. When the alt-woke super truthers ask me, how could you vote for a Zionist puppet Trump? This is how. An internet bill of rights. A federal ban on all censorship and thought policing with consequences. I can think of nothing more vital, especially to journalists today. Yeah.
Are those journalists here in the room with us?
Donald Trump, famous friend to journalists. Donald Trump famously has so much space for criticism of Israel, so much so that they're creating a anti-Semitism task force to basically lock you in Guantanamo Bay if you've ever hurt the feelings of the apartheid state.
Also, what the is alt woke?
I don't know.
What is alt woke?
Just say woke, man.
Just say woke. You just be woke.
Yeah, it's just we're woke. We're the wokes. Ian runs a podcast with two friends, Kyle Kemper, Justin Trudeau's half brother, Dustin Stockton, known MAGA grifter. What? Whoa, we got the chart.
Charts now.
We got the flow chart
on the
out.
flow charts.
Yeah. Ian has publicly supported various other pro-Zionist, pro-Israel, AIPAC-funded members of Trump's cabinet. RFK Jr. at HHS, Kash Patel, FBI, Tom Homan as border czar, declassification of assassination and Epstein files pending.
I do like his erratic spelling. Tom Homan. It actually reminds me of like Tim and Eric. Like it sounds like Tim Heidecker.
Tom Homan. That's how he says his name, though. To be fair,
Tom Hammam. He says it Tom Hammam.
Well, because he's always like Tom Hammam. That's what it sounds like when he says his own name. You know, because he's melting in real time.
It's like an automatopoeia. His last name.
My name is Tom Hammam.
I like, by the way, the list that he went with, and the only thing that he puts as pending is that.
Yeah. No, this administration that is like just as pro-Israel, if not more pro-Israel than the previous one, is certainly going to declassify a collaborative CIA Mossad blackmail operation, and all of the juicy blackmail that Jeffrey Epstein worked long and hard for. That's definitely going to happen for sure.
I do, by the way, think that I'm not saying that there's I don't think that there's a 0% chance. I think there is a chance Trump releases meaningful JFK assassination docs, because for what it's worth, the Clinton administration did as well with the ARB. So there's and they've reconfigured the National Archives website. My friend Jefferson Worley has documented this, but the thing that's super interesting about it, at least, is that it's it would be revelatory. It would be cool for the government to reveal that stuff. It's also about a 60-year-old murder. It doesn't what skin is there off Trump's back for talking about it? Are we afraid that people are going to lose faith in America? Is that the problem that we There's a quality of this I've been thinking about with that anyway.
Wait, new FBI Director Kash Patel. America needs to wake up and prioritize Israel.
Off the machinery that feeds money into Iran. We will no longer have 100 hostages still in captivity, Israeli and American and otherwise.
What are you gonna do about it, Mr. FBI, man?
Hezbollah mercenary forces.
He's gonna go do mixed martial arts. He's gonna
go live in Las Vegas and not do his job.
No, he's gonna make FBI agents learn Krav Maga.
Yeah, he's gonna get UFC fighters in. Listen, we were gonna get you. We before you had combat and training instructors. Now you're gonna have those guys, except they're going to be really they're going to be the least trustworthy people in the world. And they're also not going to teach you how to fight. That's
it's amazing. Teach him Krav Maga, dude. That's a really effective way to do hand-to-hand combat.
We need America to wake up and prioritize Israel and bring home Israelis and make sure we stand by our number.
You're empowered.
Yeah. Ian has led people to believe that Attorney General Pam Bondi is ever going to release the Epstein list. Pam Bondi has ties to Scientology.
That's the 15th worst thing about it.
Yeah. Ian has supported Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi was a member of the WEF Young Living Leaders.
This thread is also I think Tulsi Gabbard being from that wacko cult and her stupid family in Hawaii has more relevance.
He also never covers Peter Thiel. Technocracy, transhumanism, covers the obvious ties of corruption in the Trump administration. He claims to have covered Peter Thiel multiple times, which is a lie. He spoke about Thiel one time, buried in an hours-long Old State Saloon presentation on Carbine 9/11, whose co-conspirators Jeffrey Epstein and Ehud Barak appear in his Elon ratio, but Thiel's name mysteriously is absent.
Confess that some of this sounds like pain.
Yeah, I don't know what is.
This has serious Spider-Man pointing qualities, I will say. Although
it's sometimes you need an insane person to uncover other.
That's why we're friends with Grace. We talked about this.
Yes, exactly. Other obviously insane people. But I did, like I said, I saw some shit.
They failed us.
You gotta go back. Go back now. She's never going back. He's going to do a joint FBI IDF raid on college campuses with a 19-year-old IDF 3-star general hospitalized from a freight-induced heart attack after seeing a teenager wearing a keffiyeh. Posthumously, he becomes a rear admiral general. Where there's more from the Joe Rogan shit. Brace isn't insane. He's a small business Maoist. That's true. He also again, he's also white Chinese, which is very important to me as someone who's also a part of the white Chinese movement. White guys who want to be Chinese. Oh, here's the other one. This is the Red Pill Saiyan, which is another prominent neo-Nazi account. Ian Carroll and Joe Rogan on the Epstein files never coming out because they involve Israel in the 9/11 dancing Israel.
I like the, hold on, pause. I like the idea of it being 911 dancing Israelis.
I like the
All
idea.
900 of them.
I like the idea of it being Jeffrey Epstein was also one of the dancing Israelis. He was dancing as well.
That's actually, it wasn't the blackmail that got him in trouble. It was because he was a dancing Israeli.
Yeah, no, he was dancing too good. That's why they couldn't release it. That's why they never.
He was too nice.
Yeah, if people saw it, they'd be like, "Damn, Jeffrey."
Jeffrey Astaire, actually.
Damn, Jeffrey, didn't know you had swag like that. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Actually, well, no, because think about it, dude. When did Jeffrey Epstein get popped? Like 2020? And that was like because that's right when TikTok was popping off.
Yeah.
And so like the idea was that he could have been like the most influential dancer on all of TikTok, which was like the dancing app.
And then he would have, I don't know. I don't know how to follow this logic. I've lost the plot.
I don't really think there's logic. Just go with it. Just follow it.
Felix was
Don't
also
logic it. Just follow it.
Felix was also there dancing per his admission. I like that dancing is actually prominent, like a prominent fixture of 9/11 conspiracies, because I was also dancing on the rooftops of New Jersey as with my Muslim friends, which Trump also said, ironically.
Oh yeah, it's the the dancing Muslims who were celebrating, but then there were the actual dancing Israelis who were news articles about.
Who were also celebrating 9/11 like we did it. That's what they were doing. Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. What's up with the dance? Why are the Jews and Muslims in this joint collaborative project of doing 9/11?
I think people underrate
why were they dancing?
Dancing brings people together. It's it's movement and rhythm and time. You know, it's I understand why dancing was part of 9/11. I get it. I get it.
All right, let's see what he says.
All the information that's getting disclosed, supposedly this administration, what do you have the least faith that we're going to come to
Epstein,
a conclusion?
for sure.
Epstein.
And I think it's because of Israel. I think that because I mean, when you really dig into Epstein, his entire network was Israel. It was clearly he was like Ehud Barak was the ex-prime minister and the ex-head of Israeli intelligence.
Like the shit that I hate about this is like he's not. I can't believe I'm saying this. He's the worst person to be saying this, but like he's not completely incorrect, but he is incorrect when he says like, oh, it's just his entire network is Israel.
Well, yeah, and so I mean, like Google, Siri, could you look up for me Bill Burns visiting Jeffrey Epstein?
Thank you. Exactly.
Like, could we look at all the other people that he was in? Like, obviously, it's pretty clear that he has.
He lived in America, dog. What the do you mean? Like, what are you talking about?
I mean, it seems like it's credible and worth examining, and like you can go so far as to suggest he was part of like an Israeli intelligence operation, but he was clearly also a bit more than that, which is like part of where the confusion is.
Yeah,
it's not so obvious.
Yeah, I just don't understand. Can you tell me what you think of Ian? Why you disagree, please? I disagree with him because this is a not so subtle and not very clever way to just like constantly make things about Jews and like the Talmudic thought, whatever the these losers always complain about, which is ironically enough, it's the handshake of fascism on the Israeli side and handshaking of the fascism on the anti-Semitic, anti-Israel side, and they play a role together. It's just the idea that Judaism plays a formative role in Israel, or that in Israeli society and what Israel is doing is ridiculous. It's not correct at all.
Leslie Wexner was one of the most powerful pro-Israeli philanthropists. The whole organization was Israel.
So
and I'm not saying it was all of Israel.
It was all an intelligence gathering, and
it was targeting Americans. It was targeting American officials and the American president.
Right.
And the CIA does have interest in those targets too. Elements in the CIA does. Certainly they had help from the CIA, and certainly they had help from these other organized crime and intelligence operations. But you don't, like, so for example, Dan Bongino, the new...
You can literally see his eyes like rolling into the back of his head to try and remember the chapters of the Whitney Webb book that he read clearly on the toilet like 6 months ago. Like, it's just so vague and unuseful. Like the only proper noun aside from Israel that he's able to like consistently slide in here, as near as I can tell, is when he has like this very ostentatious Jewish that'll come out at some point. Because if he hasn't said it yet in the video, I'm sure it's
what is he, deputy director of the FBI? He recently had this clip that went all around where he said on camera that he had a source that he trusted deeply. And he's an informed guy. He was at a Fox News interview, and the source told him that Epstein was working for an intelligence agency in the Middle East. And I don't know which one, but someone in the Middle East. And to be fair, we all already knew this. We already know who he worked for. At least I think so. But I'm looking at, okay, Dan, so if this giant group of Jewish...
Does this guy actually think that, like, Mossad agents don't also collaborate with the CIA and can't work for the CIA as well? Like, I don't understand. Does he think that this is like there are definitely agents that will exclusively work for Israel and obviously release sensitive information to Israel, and we kind of overlook that a little bit because of our allegiance and need for Israel to exist in the ways that it does. Having said that, however, like, this is a collaborative effort. Am I wrong? I don't know. I mean, look at fucking.
But I think it's moreover that it's like, all right, you think like, so you think you've identified an Israeli asset. Are you only able to talk about the work he did in the context of the Jewish network that he pals around with, and how the Jewish people are influenced? Like, it just is like no shit. Like, Epstein has ties to Israel, and then he worked with him, and he has this particular relationship with Barack that's highly suspect above everyone else.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, Barack is not, like, he's been mostly out of power for the last 20 fucking years. Like, there's also just like a degree to which it's like, when we do see the moments in which, like, Epstein supposedly has like these very meaningful connections to government and power, who were the people getting him out of trouble? It was the American government that got him out of trouble when Epstein was accused of being a pedophile in the United States.
Yeah,
it was the American government that sent its CIA director to go visit him.
It was Trump's labor secretary, Alexander Acosta, who was the Florida prosecutor who gave him the sweetheart deal. Okay? That's the guy who kept him out of prison after he got popped the first time. Like, what are you talking? How can you be pro-Trump simultaneously while also it's being like, nah, it was the Jews. Yeah, it wasn't Barack Obama. It was Ehud Barak chatters. When we say Barack, we're talking about Ehud Barak.
Well, and also I would add that, like, the other piece of this is that, you know, like, the thing Epstein was accused of or whatever, that like the broad scope of, like, sex trafficking and political and sexual blackmail. I think that like we can say and openly acknowledge that, like, Israel has used these kinds of tactics in its intelligence work. They've used prostitutes to entrap people working on the Iraqi nuclear program in France. I think that's a pretty famous case, like a small one, obviously. But, like, it just strikes me as pretty clear that, like, what is the guy who was posting about how Pizzagate was real as recently as early last year now saying that there's a Jewish network, explicitly Jewish network, of people doing sexual and political blackmail on behalf of Israel? You know, I can't put my finger on it, but something sounds a little bit sus with that picture. I don't know about you.
Yeah, there's no collaborative effort there with the American intelligence communities at all. He just happened to literally exist within the confines of America while being one of the most high-profile pedophiles of all time. And I guess our security apparatus, our law enforcement agencies, like, none of them were aware. He was just a Jewish guy doing Jewish things for Jewish Mossad.
Well, you know who is really going to give us, like, who if he is unburdened by the deep state will be able to give us all the information about Jeffrey Epstein. It's going to be Donald Trump, who definitely was not a friend of Jeffrey Epstein's, and who definitely was not seen on video standing next to Jeffrey Epstein checking out younger women.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be that guy who's going to do the, like, you know.
Famous White House South, Mar-a-Lago was used famously as a hunting ground for Jeffrey Epstein's next victims on numerous occasions, including the most high-profile victim, Virginia Giuffre, who ironically outed Jeffrey Epstein's friend and lawyer Alan Dershowitz as one of the people that, you know, sexually assaulted her. Interestingly enough, Alan Dershowitz is also a prominent friend to Donald Trump.
And, you know, Israel.
And, of course, Israel, yes. But also Donald Trump. Yeah.
The Trump-Roy Cohn connection is actually kind of relevant to bring up here, just in the sense of that, like, the things that he keeps, like, suggesting about, like, this is, like, you know, some compromise operation on America from, you know, outside or whatever. Like, it just feels, everything about this guy feels off. Everything about his take on the situation feels off. It just feels like indelicate, imprecise, and that for those people, you know, I would say, including myself in this category, who are curious about what happened, who are curious about like what it suggests about how power is wielded within this country and so on. Like, it just feels like, cool, this is like how you drive like a monster truck all over the evidence.
Oh, there's more to it. Remember, this is another thing. Chatter is correct. You just reminded me. I forgot to.
Oh, the Michael Wolff thing. You're right. You're right. You're totally right. I forgot about this.
There was a
new thing.
Steve Bannon. No, this, not the new thing. This
the documentary.
one. Steve Bannon filmed Jeffrey Epstein for 15 hours. His documentary has never surfaced. Steve Bannon took 15 hours of video of Jeffrey Epstein in the months before Epstein died in jail. He said it was for a documentary and claimed it doesn't stand up to scrutiny. Sources say Bannon was friends with Epstein and was trying to rehabilitate his reputation. Epstein declared he was a firm believer and supporter of Time's Up, the organization to fight sexual harassment. Okay. I made my living from old thinking, Epstein said from his palatial Manhattan home, but the future is for the way women think. Bannon pushed back. A clip published by the New York Post in 2021 shows Bannon verbally sparring with Epstein. Is that kind of sop because of all the depravity you've done against young women? It was vintage Bannon, right-wing operator, threw a Molotov cocktail in the political left's arena hoping for chaos. The clip supposedly promoted a documentary, The Monsters, Epstein's Life Among the Global Elite, from Bannon's production company Victory Films. Before Epstein went to jail on sex trafficking charges in July 2019, Bannon spent months in the financier's homes in Manhattan and Paris. He boasted he shot 15 hours worth of video. How the f did Steve Bannon get this level of access to a serial blackmailer of incredibly wealthy and incredibly powerful individuals? How did he get this level of access?
I mean, I would still say that the other thing that like there are like again, in addition to footage like this, like there's other things that like we could know about Epstein that we do not, that hasn't been released. Like specifically, like the thing that for example, like the thing I would love to know is what exactly did they find in his safe and other, you know, what's the inventory list of what they found in his home in that safe when they actually raided the house in New York City? Like there remains just so much stuff that like is not released or whatever, but like there's just all this like vague talk about releasing the Epstein files and shit.
Bannon grew closer to Epstein in the summer of 2018, advising him on how to handle his myriad legal and media investigations. They continued to spend time with each other through the following summer when Epstein was arrested in Manhattan on sex trafficking charges. It has not surfaced anywhere, not in the criminal trial of Ghislaine Maxwell, who was convicted of assisting Epstein's sex trafficking. Bannon's explanation that he was producing a documentary about Epstein was nonsense, according to people who spent time with both men the time that they were in each other's lives. In reality, the two acted like friends around each other, and Bannon, these people said, was trying to help Epstein, a notorious sex offender with his public relations problems. Bannon met Epstein in December 2017, shortly after he stopped working in Donald Trump's White House. Epstein had his own history with Trump. Participants in the Manhattan and Palm Beach, Florida social scenes, they befriended each other in the 1980s, but had a falling out in the 2000s. After Epstein died in jail while awaiting trial, a compensation program funded by his $630 million estate identified about 150 of his victims. Later litigation found the number close to 200. Bannon, at the time, was serving a 4-month sentence after a jury found him guilty of contempt of Congress for flouting a subpoena from the House panel investigating the Capitol riot on January 6th. He's also awaiting trial on criminal charges over his role in We Build the Wall, an organization whose co-founders
that was so funny.
That was a paraplegic vet, right?
Yeah. That was the fundraiser for the wall.
Yeah, I know. Alan Dershowitz, I did not forget, was Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer and Trump's impeachment lawyer. Was Alan Dershowitz Trump's impeachment lawyer?
He was one. He was on the team. I mean, he was like in the. I don't know if he was. I mean, truthfully, he cycled through so many lawyers. I'm not sure who was on his team at what point.
Bannon, who frequently speaks to journalists, did not respond to numerous voicemails. He did not respond to an additional request for comment in a letter mailed to him on July 9th in the federal prison in Danbury, Connecticut, where he's incarcerated. Alexandra Priate, a spokesperson for Bannon, told BI in December 2021 that the documentary about Epstein would be screened probably around Labor Day. The date came and went. Priate has not requested to follow up queries in the 2 years since. Yeah, and then there was also Epstein talking about his relationship with Trump.
I mean, it just sounds like, based on that question that gets leaked, that like the whole point of it is like not actually about making Epstein look bad, but it's about like showing how like see how liberal perverts like Jeffrey Epstein are endorsing Time's Up. Like it all feels like it's part of these like.
But the very fact that he got this level of access to Jeffrey Epstein is also suspicious.
Yes.
Bill Barstow was the head of the private school where Epstein worked. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, Don Barr. We know.
I don't know.
Jeffrey Epstein went to Interlochen with William Barr. They took a photo together. There's a lot of weird shit. Why did Don Barr at Dalton insist on hiring this guy who didn't appear to finish like college, but is supposedly some whiz? Like the whole thing's strange.
His brother Mark Epstein said Bannon was trying to help his brother rehabilitate his reputation after the Miami Herald 2018 published a series of articles which ultimately led to an indictment by federal prosecutors in Manhattan. Mark Epstein told BI that his brother had sent him footage of some of Bannon's interviews with him. In that interview, Mark Epstein told BI last year, Jeffrey said he stopped hanging out with Trump when he realized Trump was a crook.
That's awesome.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, Hitler said he didn't f with you anymore. He said you were out of pocket.
Mark Epstein said he inquired about the footage in a meeting with Bannon in New York after his brother's death, but Bannon refused to share more information. Mark Epstein said Bannon asked him for money, saying he needed $6 million to complete the documentary. Dude, okay, never mind. Maybe it's Bannon was just fleecing the Epsteins.
That would be pretty funny, blackmailing the blackmailer.
Yeah, that's typical Steve Bannon, though.
I interviewed him once. He talks to everybody.
Oh yeah, he loves the media.
He loves
billionaires.
Yeah. He's an easy yapper.
Is running a sex trafficking operation targeting American politicians and business people and stuff. You think they're working with an Arab or Muslim nation in the Middle East? Like, you think that Leslie Wexner is devoting his entire...
Yeah. Famously, the American intelligence would never work with Arab and Muslim nations in the Middle East. But Trump is really good. He's doing peace in the Middle East with the Abraham Accords.
By the way,
the Abraham Accords, which is, a joint security cooperation agreement packaged as a normalization of relations with Israel between nations that already have normalized their relations with Israel. What were you going to say?
I just have one of the other pieces of this that I'm kind of I don't know. It just feels... I remain skeptical of anybody who spends this much time talking about this kind of shit in 2025, but has no actual way to connect it to things that are going on. You know what I mean? It's just why are you saying the same exact things that we've heard from a million other people for the last 4 years? Repeating over, it just feels, I don't know. I don't want to sound like Jade or I want to dismiss the gravity of what people like Epstein did or what what that kind of conspiracy political culture, how it is destructive to a country or destructive to the world or whatever. But it just feels just retreading the shit over and over and over and over again. It just feels like prurient. It feels like tabloid stuff. It doesn't feel like it's actually trying to educate people in any meaningful way.
I mean, you know what I mean? I can't tell if he's just just stupid and didn't understand the book that he claims he read, or he's just deliberately misrepresenting it and only talking about the Jewish nature of these espionage actions.
Well, by the way, if your people want to see an interesting documentary about Les Wexner that has a nice Jeffrey Epstein bit, on Hulu, the documentary about Victoria's Secret, Angels and Demons, it's about how Victoria's Secret was this place of rampant sexual abuse, exploitation, and projected this hypersexualized imagery and culture. I was interviewed for this documentary, and there was a lot of information. There's a lot of information in it that's really good and well sourced about how Epstein fit into Les Wexner's life. And it frames it within this larger conversation about what does it say about how these people are crazy nutcase crazy sexual abusers in their own right, and then they make something like Victoria's Secret.
By the way, this is the crazy part. Sex Pestany's lawyer defending him against the lawsuit against one of his victims is Andrew Brettler, Prince Andrew's attorney when he sued Virginia Giuffre.
Well, listen, it's
the same law firm.
Yeah, I mean, and it's listen, if one ever finds themselves in such a position, you'd want legal help that's experienced.
Yeah, with a upstanding track record in working to fight and defend sex criminals of the highest order.
If to philanthropies on behalf of Israel, but then he's going to work for Saudi Arabia when he's doing this trafficking, right?
But if someone says to him that they're all...
How is that far-fetched? Someone who's working on behalf of Israel also simultaneously working for Saudi Arabia? What is far-fetched about that? That is more proof that he is most likely CIA.
I mean, well, I think you're just listening.
Why does he unironically think that there's bad blood between MBS and Israel or something? Are you stupid? What the? It's just, oh God. The answer is yes.
In the Middle East, knowing he knows what that means, but not specifying, doesn't he kind of have to repeat it that same way?
Well, he also has to repeat it the same way because he won't get the job if he says Israel. Because Israel has so much control over our government right now. And I'm not saying that all Jews are in on something. Clearly, internet. Thank you. Internet. And Joe is definitely not saying that.
Definitely not.
But Israel's government is as vulnerable to the deep state effect as the American government. But I would argue that Israel's government is way more vulnerable to it because of the people that founded Israel and the way it was founded. It was founded in modern time, much more recently, by it was a revolutionary founding. And I can totally sympathize with the Jewish desire to have that state. I get it. But because of the way that happened, the people that founded Israel were a bunch of organized crime figures in America, the Jewish mob, that were helping with money and with arms trafficking to get the guns there because they had to have guns. And it was the Rothschild banking family sending a whole bunch of money and getting the declaration in the first place. And then the people that were there, the 3 different organizations, the Irgun, the Lehi group, and the Haganah, those were the 3 paramilitary groups that fought to found Israel, and they're the heroes of Israel, which I understand the narrative that they're heroes, but when Israel was officially founded, they officially designated Irgun and Lehi as terrorist organizations because they had been bombing civilians. They'd been bombing British civilians.
Dog, Lehi called them, it was Lehi.
Also, by the way, it's not Lehi.
Lehi?
Lehi, yeah. It's called Lehi. Lehigh Valley. It's called Lehi.
Also, Lehi called themselves terrorists, didn't they?
Yes.
They didn't even, they were no, we're terrorists. Out of the 3, at least.
The first official act of terror before they changed the definition was the bombing of the King David Hotel, where these terrorists, these Lehi and Irgun terrorists, a bunch of different groups, one of the guy who planned that bombing later became the prime minister of Israel. They were bombing civilians, and so when those are the groups that are fighting to found that nation. Even if all the Jews there are wonderful people, the leadership is inherently composed of these people that have been deeply corrupt for all time. And so you get this fertile ground for this kind of deep state effect to take power. And when you start to research the heads of state of Israel...
You are stupid. You are stupid. That's not where a deep state comes from, is that there were a bunch of nationalist terrorist groups that started the founding fathers of your country, which is true. That is not connected.
Well, deep state did come from a nationalist paramilitary group that was developing a parallel state in Turkey with NATO.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put shade on the Grey Wolves' names, but it's just not there's.
That's where the OG deep state comes from.
He's just describing though this wholly organic as if this thing isn't where are the great powers that are facilitating the process in which all this is happening in this story? It's just a bunch of it's just so half-baked, man.
No, it's weirdly. It almost loops back around to being weirdly pro-Israel to be no, these are a bunch of upstarts that just kind of got together and happened to do a revolutionary act and develop the Israeli nation state.
Over history, you realize that a bunch of them were in those groups doing those terrorist acts and have done a bunch of dark stuff because those were the people that were at the top of that military organization. Those terrorist organizations reformed to form the IDF.
And what's interesting is you can talk about this now post October 7th.
It opened wide open.
Post Gaza.
You want to know a funny story?
Yeah, no one was talking about.
This is insane.
No one was talking about the.
What is that even? Where does that thought come from,
dude? No.
How is that the thought that occurs and it was untrue? Irrelevant.
I'll take it one step further, Joe. There's this concept called the new historians. Okay, post October 7, they came out and they released all these documents they had found. One of those guys then said,
"You're kidding."
It's all post October 7. Before then, no one knew about this stuff. Okay, no one was allowed to talk about this stuff. Why? Because I found out about Israel after October 7 because I'm an idiot.
Dude, that's crazy.
That's why.
So what you're saying?
The Haganah, Irgun, Etzel, the Stern Gang, and the Lehi. Red-pilled skeptics need to shut up.
I didn't know shit about it. And I started doing 9/11
We noticed.
And I was doing a 9/11 video on my YouTube, and I knew about the Dancing Israelis conspiracy theory that is very much a real set of documents. And I knew that I'm not allowed to talk about Israel for some reason, and I didn't really know why. And I realized, I better understand this thing before I crater my new channel and career.
Oh, I started Googling, and I went, wow, this is scary.
This guy.
Wow. Yeah. I was doing a 9/11 documentary, and I just realized, man, Jews be dancing, dude. Yeah.
And then it got me thinking,
my favorite.
You ever been to a college dance marathon?
Yeah.
You know who's doing it?
Jews.
Yeah.
My favorite is the Nick Mullen bit about this, where it's like, all right, guys. we put everything together. We set all the events in motion for 9/11 to happen. All right, I got one more thing I got to do. Let's leave the clues.
Yeah, exactly. Well, dude, that Mullen bit is so good. One more thing.
Yeah.
Time to leave the.
Yeah. Go out and dance over there. Okay. All right. Once you're done calling all of your friends, all of the Jews that work in the towers. Okay. Time to go out.
Like the dancing Israeli thing. It's weird. It's interesting to look at and talk about. I don't know what this guy thinks that he has such a firm idea of like how would it all meet like, and then but he can't even like, he's unable to like synthesize.
On this topic, I don't understand. If I'm going to take a stance against Israel at all, I should understand why and how. So I started doing research, and I shelved that research, and I switched to researching Israel and Palestine and the history there and what's going on. And I finished the video, and it was October 6th, and I was like, I'm very worried because it's like, you weren't allowed to talk about it. And I had just made this whole documentary about the history of Israel-Palestine and the propaganda and what it all was. And I published it on October 6th on my Locals channel. And I kind of had this like lean back and like, if that's the end of the ride and I get canceled for this shit, so be it. And then literally the next day, and I'm not saying that October 7th was a good thing, but I'm saying that literally the next day, the entire internet was ablaze about Israel and Palestine, and everyone was talking about it. And it was the weirdest coincidence,
okay, now I definitely believe he's a Fed.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Mossad told him what was coming, but they didn't tell Bibi.
Yeah. now I believe that he's a federal agent. Okay.
I guess the
Oh damn! All right. Well, I'm about to end this right now after the wonderful words of this man.
And suddenly it was like,
I'll see this part out then.
Yeah, let's finish this up.
All right, let's dig this thing open because unfortunately, it is. I mean, I think fortunately, I think that the state of the Israeli influence that sustained them for so long, that was essential to them surviving this long. I think that it has grown cancerous to the Jewish faith in general, because Jeffrey Epstein is the perfect example of this. Jeffrey Epstein was the world's most prolific and evil sex trafficker that we know of so far, ever. And he very clearly was a Jewish organization of Jewish people working on behalf of...
What about Genghis Khan?
Oh, damn. It's true.
Just saying.
It's true. Historically.
Israel and other groups. And so that's a dark stain on Israel and on the Jewish...
Jimmy Savile's pretty bad, too.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I will say, I don't think it's so unequivocal. Epstein is bad. He's definitely, I would draft him in the first round. His fundamentals in the trafficking game were really strong, but he had competition.
Yeah. I just... God. I do find it very... I do find it suspicious that the only people that get play, especially in prominent right-wing networks, that get to talk about Israel this way are people who are just like openly anti-Semitic usually, or they just like say things always about like noticing, you know what I mean? How much they notice certain things.
People, if you own.
Well, and in his case, he doesn't like. He sounds so he's like it's destructive to the Jewish, like the state of Israeli. Like these words feel uncomfortable coming out of his mouth. He does not sound like he has like a real grasp on the concepts, on the people, and the thing. It just sounds like he's making content. I don't know. I mean, I would like to live in a world where I am actually being too hard on this guy, because in that case, he's not a bad guy, but. I don't know. He's sus, man. He stinks.
His fundamentals are dog shit. He used Jizz Lane for all the legwork. Jimmy Savile built that hospital wing from scratch.
It's true. Jimmy Savile put the team on his back.
Yeah, he did. He did build his own little playground. He's a freak. He's a Fed placating and play acting and anti-Semite, in my opinion. Yeah. I could maybe see that. I don't know. Does the CIA have motion like that? Do they still do psyops?
I don't think so. Like this, I think about this sometimes because like once upon a time, right? Like the CIA has had, and especially in the middle of the Cold War, like they ran multiple operations to surveil the CIA, or sorry, to like co-opt the media with people who were like active CIA assets, who were working in newspapers and so on. And like this was way more
Operation Mockingbird, right?
But it's true. But there, I mean, among others, like it was a larger firm, et cetera. But here's the other thing: like there were things that made that possible that don't exist now. A a lot of the people they recruited had served in the army, because for most of the like that period of time in the 20th century, there had been a draft. And in fact, a lot of people had served in World War II, and they were already more ideologically like willing to work with a government that they had already served in that way. Like there's a great story that was published by Carl Bernstein in Rolling Stone in 1977 that like it goes into this in the sense that like it like when you see what the actual like laid out what like a CIA operation to seed people within the media looks like, it just doesn't seem like the kind of thing that you could pull off in the same way today. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, it doesn't exist today, but that like a lot of these like ideas of how it used to work in the past, like you can't just like control X, control V.
Even Israeli espionage, like when they were closer to
if I'm live or not, because I had to go connect to a public Wi-Fi, or else this would not work, because apparently the big buildings, I guess, outside were blocking my Wi-Fi connection. So if I am live, it will continue. But I just got out of the Johnny Smalley trial. It's not live? Nope. Oh no. Okay, I'm live. I'm live. Let's go. It says we're live. We're back. Try the other stream. We're back. We're back. This is phenomenal. Okay. Well, so the thing is, we just got out of the trial. It went absolutely terrible for Johnny, because Johnny showed up more than an hour late with a MAGA hat on and a big bottle of water, and he was just screaming at essentially he got in trouble for, number one, wearing the hat, and number two, the bottle. So now there's 4 charges that was in that trial, correct?
There are 4 charges against him, but only 3 of them were addressed today.
Okay.
The 4th charge, which he just discovered about the other day, which I brought up on my stream 2 days ago, and he got the notice of in Korean yesterday. Actually, didn't even get it. Sorry. So
oh wow.
He didn't know anything about it today, and his lawyer didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, they were
today.
pretty shocked.
Oh, okay. So that was a separate charge. Was that the charge that he was showing?
The new obstruction.
Oh, the newest obstruction charge. Okay, yeah. So
this week.
there's another charge as well that's coming against him about the deepfake stuff that he accidentally leaked on his stream last night. Because as we've been covering, I mean, he's been playing his cards in the worst way possible the whole time, from start to finish. And last night, I guess he decided to get drunk at 3 in the morning, go live, and show up extremely late to court because of that. And on his live stream, he was doing, like, I guess, getting paid to do shots, and he ended up showing a new charge that hadn't been leaked to the public yet.
So that charge was actually it's the police case that the police have given over to the prosecutor. So it means that they're going to prosecute it. It's going to trial. Yeah.
In the Korean system, once the police decide to actually formally charge you and they send it to the prosecutors, that's pretty much it. That's where you get the 90+% conviction rate. You're pretty much done. If they've decided to go that far, that means they have the evidence to prove the crime.
So
if there's no evidence, it usually doesn't go to that point. They just drop the case, or if it's like 2 people having a fight or something, they settle or something like that. But in this case, it's gone to the prosecution, so not going to be fun for Johnny Boy.
And he came in with the biggest smile on his face, and then as soon as they read him his charges, his smile just vanished. So it seems like he was truly humbled as he had to sit down for the court hearing.
His suit was terrible. I think that's Hank's
right.
suit.
Okay.
He was wearing Hank's suit.
So we basically kind of confirmed today that he showed up with Hank. So it seems like he's staying with Hank. And then he showed up in Hank's suit, which was oversized. So it just did not really look right at all. And then on top of that, what was the other thing that happened?
The MAGA hat?
The MAGA hat happened. Right, okay, so the charges that we know. Okay, so we have the 2 misdemeanors, which, number 1, it was for the fish.
Minor Crimes Act.
The Minor Crimes Act, which are essentially misdemeanors in the U.S. That was for running around with that fish on the stream that we covered and shoving it in people's faces on the bus and so on. And then there was like a managing director of that bus company that was apparently on.
That's pretty much it.
They were saying he showed up in a suit looking like this.
Picture of Johnny Smalley in court.
So that was one of his misdemeanor charges. Then on top of that, there was another misdemeanor charge for him twerking on people on the subway, which we also covered, and blasting loud music.
But they didn't specifically mention the obscenity. They just said foul language, but they didn't say obscenity, so I'm not sure if that's good.
It was subway and bus? Or
Subway and bus.
Subway and bus. So it was kind of confusing.
So I'm surprised they haven't mentioned anything about him interrupting the concert, because he went up on stage and did a whole spiel there as well.
We don't know what that last obstruction charge is. Maybe
so that could be it, because that seemed to be televised. So that was another thing there.
And it depends on the district as well, because if the crime happened in that district, it will go to that district court. So these crimes are just for this district. The other crime is for the Eastern, is it the Eastern? Yeah. The Eastern District is, the sex crime is for the Eastern District. So that won't be in this court, that'll be in the other courtroom.
So that crime that he just mentioned, that was the deep fake incident with the, was it Bong Bong?
Probably Bong Bong, yeah.
Okay.
But there's a few people that are reported.
Including Bing TV, who was here today with us, the Korean streamer. He has a deep fake. Dalgoon has a deep fake. Many of the Korean streamers have deep fakes with Johnny Somali, and they've all pressed charges, and none of them have dropped them. But I believe this one will be Bong Bong because it specifically mentioned.
Probably, yeah, it's it.
So and then obviously the last charge, which was the obstruction of business, that was confirmed to be in the 7-Eleven, and they also said how he was talking negatively to an elder employee as well, and they really punctuated that.
Yeah, harassment of an elderly person, an elderly worker, making customers feel unsafe, and then also, just touching totally first time. And then also drinking alcohol when he was asked not to drink alcohol. You're actually, they changed the law, you're not allowed to drink alcohol in a convenience store. Okay. And they can get in trouble for it. So she was actually following the law by telling him not to drink. And then he was abusive to her, so that's also part of the instruction.
Was there anything else that you noticed in Korean that we didn't understand? Because we were using him as a translator.
They just generally didn't seem very impressed with him. When the judge didn't really, I think, know about the fish story.
Oh,
interesting. But when they read out he was going around public transport with a rotten fish, the judge kind of went like this. He did a kind of a neck twitch. Like, what is this guy on? Yeah, so that was funny. And the judge saw him making faces at us.
Right, yeah, when he walked in.
And then on the bench, he made a face directly at me and Adozi.
In front of everyone.
Right to us, in front of everybody. He looked to us and did both of us. It was pretty direct. It was right at us, like direct.
So that was... Hank apparently showed up and called us losers.
Oh, we're losers, guys.
Hank called us a loser, so we're so emotionally damaged right now. You can see HD. He's deep with the emotional scars. He's a kid. Don't cry, man.
But other than that, I'm trying to see. So, he has another case. What, it's scheduled for April 9th?
April 9th is going to be his plea, his time to plead for the new charge. So he pled guilty on the 3 counts, the old obstruction charge he got in November, then the 2 minor crimes act. He pled guilty on them once. But the new one he got this week, he hasn't pled anything. His lawyer hasn't reviewed it. So he's got to come back to court. He doesn't even know what it is. He thinks he knew everything. He didn't even know. So they've got 3 weeks just to deliberate and think about it and come back in April. This process is slow, and while we were in there, we were actually watching a case that had been going on and delayed for 1 whole year because a witness failed to show up. So Johnny, thinking he's going to be out of here in 3 weeks or a month, think again.
Yeah, so it seems like he's definitely going to be stuck here for maybe even a year and more, depending on his sentence as well.
I'd say
a lot of people were saying...
A year at this point.
Minimum a year is what you think? So a lot of people here are thinking he's going to get somewhere between 3 to 5 years in prison for all of this, which is crazy. But it'll be really interesting to see what happens moving forward. So we have that trial on April 9th, and then did they set the new trial for this, or when the next hearing for this case is?
April 9th.
That is April 9th?
So April 9th is the next court hearing, and then on April 9th we'll decide the next one.
Yeah.
So after April 9th, we may not have another one until June.
So when is the next case? Because there was a separate case.
That's in a separate district.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a different courthouse to today. They have different courthouses.
So that runs separately. So he, even after this case, he
still has
needs to be worried about the next case
Yes.
that's being dropped on him as well.
They're going to bounce him all around Seoul.
But there's a good chance that he might be found guilty for this before the other case, which, as you have said before multiple times, Andrew, that he would have a criminal record, and then therefore that next charge is going to be, well, you have a criminal record now, and that counts very much against you for the next crime. Yeah.
So at what point do you guys think he would be arrested before the next trial or the next?
I think, I mean, frankly, let me know if I'm wrong, but I think they're going to keep him out because he's got to pay for everything himself. He's got to pay for, his food. He's not supposed to be working, even though he is. That's another thing that's going to get him in the night.
He lied in court. He lied in court.
Oh, he said he was a student.
Yes, they asked his occupation. He said he was
a student.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Lying in court, showing up with a hat on, bottle of water, immediately lying in court, making faces at us, hands in pockets.
Pretending he doesn't know Hank's address and apartment number where he's
That as
staying.
well. He kept answering that he didn't know. Yeah, no, it's bad. It looks really bad for him.
Then he said, I don't know because I don't speak Korean. And then the judge said, you can speak English. Because the judge obviously knows, you know numbers in English. You know numbers in English, say the number in English. And then he didn't.
Yeah, so overall, massive dumpster fire. The dude has played every single card wrong. And I'm shocked that, every time I show up and find out something new about Johnny Somali, he drops the bar even lower. Who would ever think, if you have an important trial and it's about your own freedom, why would you ever get drunk and stream the night before and pass out and talk shit about the judge and the prosecutors and show up over an hour late to your trial? It's outrageous.
And I'm loving every minute of it.
But that was the quick update. I'll see you guys soon with a full video on this entire situation because we've been filming a lot out here. And hopefully I'll see you guys soon. All right. Thank you, guys. Also, thank you guys for the donations real quick. I didn't even know it's Super Korean. Tell Andrew, take you to Everland. I'm trying to read. That was the only Texas speech donation. Oh, there we go. Okay. Thank you, guys. Yoksu.
Off the cuff recap. This is going to be a little bit more detailed, but it's not going to be the full transcript. We should have tomorrow a literal transcript of everything that was said in order. This person said this person said this person said this. So I'll do that tomorrow when we get the full, trial transcript. But for today, I'm going to give you the clip, the major points, the things that stuck out, and some things that are kind of funny. And I made a comical PowerPoint here, so we're going to go through that today. Wade for 200 Thai baht, so that is Songroy. Copeland Cop. Thank you so much. Let's go. Mercenary X21 says just saw the leaked live action.
We're going to sidestep from Ukraine ceasefire efforts to Donald Trump, who first truthed this thing and then now has posted in the POTUS account. Let's take a look at what he had to say. Shalom Hamas means hello and goodbye. You can choose. Release all the hostages now, not later, and immediately return all the dead bodies of the people you murdered, or it is over for you. Only sick and twisted people keep bodies, and you are sick and twisted. I am sending Israel everything it needs to finish the job. Not a single Hamas member will be safe if you don't do as I say. I have just met with your former hostages whose lives you have destroyed. This is your last warning for the leadership. Now is the time to leave Gaza while you still have a chance. Also, to the people of Gaza, a beautiful future awaits, but not if you hold hostages. If you do, you are dead. Make a smart decision. Release the hostages now, or there will be hell to pay later. President Donald J. Trump. He's talking tough, like a comic book villain. And this is, of course, happening while White House is confirming that there are talks with Hamas. The Trump administration's hostages envoy has engaged in direct talks with Hamas in Doha, Qatar. White House and Hamas sources confirm, marking the first time the U.S. has negotiated with a group it designates as a foreign terrorist organization. Discussion reportedly focused on release of the American captives and a pursuit of a broader ceasefire. Now, this also came down as a Axios exclusive from Barack Ravid. Here's what took place. Max Blumenthal says, so Israel is spying on the Trump admin and leaking its sensitive diplomatic moves to the press, which I think this is a fair assessment of the situation. The meetings between Bowler and Hamas officials took place in Doha in recent weeks. While the Trump administration consulted with Israel about the possibility of engaging with Hamas, Israel learned about the aspects of the talks through other channels. One source said. The sources spoke with Axios on the condition of anonymity because they weren't authorized to discuss the sensitive meetings. So Trump and his admin sidestepped Israel to directly talk to Hamas envoys. Israel found out about it and then literally turned around and leaked it to the press. And then, and we'll get to the details in a second, but what ended up happening in the process was Donald Trump coming out and saying unhinged bullshit about Hamas. He has one speed and one speed only, which is to constantly blame Hamas, even when Israel is the one who is ruining the talks. The terrorist lover is crying. I am not crying. If you're calling me a terrorist lover, I suspect that you probably think that America is a good country, it's a powerful country, blah, 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 right? And if that's your attitude, then how do you not see your glorious president, the Great White Hope, getting absolutely cucked by Israel like this? Clearly, there is an interest from even the Trump administration to try to pack this stuff up to the best of their ability, but they want to do it quietly, and Israel is doing Israel, which is voluntarily trying to nuke any kind of ceasefire negotiations by leaking these backdoor conversations that are supposed to be kept private. Under different circumstances, I think Donald Trump would be infinitely more angry at Israel doing such things than Zelensky. This is a million times more disrespectful than what Zelensky has done. Zelensky has done nothing that was disrespectful, if we're being real, okay? The dynamic is very different, and everything that Trump has said about Zelensky and about Ukraine and everything that Trump has done about Zelensky and Ukraine is unironically what he should be doing about Israel. But he won't do it. He won't do it because he is a coward. Anyway, key details. According to Al Arabi Al Jadid, a leading source in Hamas confirmed exploratory talks with the U.S. envoy Adam Baylor 2 weeks ago, primarily discussing the release of at least 4 Israeli-American prisoners, all military personnel. The talks followed Trump's call for a gesture of goodwill in Hamas. Hamas's release of Israeli-American captive Sajoy Dekel-Chen in the 6th batch of the exchange deal. The Palestinian resistance group reportedly raised the possibility of a comprehensive deal to end the conflict. White House press secretary did not confirm or deny these reports. Additional sources, Axios Times of Israel, suggest that Baylor has led multiple meetings with Hamas in recent weeks, aiming to secure the release of both living and deceased American hostages in Gaza. The U.S. has reportedly consulted Israel on these negotiations, though some details were withheld, causing tension between the two countries. Times of Israel and Axios reported on this. In the White House briefing, press secretary confirmed the administration's engagement with Hamas. She said Israel was consulted on this matter, and President Trump believes in dialogue and talking to people around the world in a good faith effort to do what's right for the American people. Wonderful stuff. I suppose those conversations didn't go well based on Trump's recent statement. I don't know if those conversations went well or not. I think that Trump's recent statement is not about the conversations going well. It's about the fact that he's trying to throw a flashbang into the conversation by coming out and saying some unhinged about Gaza, because otherwise people are going to pay attention to the fact that Israel leaked this information to the press and that Trump is actively talking to the Palestinians. It's going to frustrate the likes, I suspect, of Miriam Adelson and whatnot. Warmongers and libs didn't stand for a kid with cancer. I love that. I love that you're saying this while we're quite literally talking about Donald Trump's inability to deal with a ceasefire. Fantastic. I mean, liberals are warmongers. This is true, but the fact that they didn't stand for a kid with cancer is idiotic. This is an idiotic line of argument. I think he's posting the anti-Gaza shit to save face. That's what I think, okay? This new Ynet article is looking crazy. Breaking, U.S. officials are losing patience. Israel's trying to sabotage U.S. talks with Hamas. Reports Ronan Bergman. Wow, I can't believe it. You're telling me for the first time, American officials
she lived an amazing negotiating process.
Yeah, what? No way, dude. American officials are accusing Israel of trying to sabotage U.S. contacts with Hamas? No. Remember when I covered this yesterday? Wait, what? Israeli police assaulted the families of those killed and imprisoned inside the Knesset after they requested to attend a discussion on forming an official investigation committee into October 7 events. which Netanyahu and his coalition have blocked. Wait, what? I don't know about suppressed news. I need to see a real article on this.
I mean, I will say in the same spirit, that's all. I have the same reaction to what you're telling me, that the Israeli police are beating up the families of the hostages.
Yeah, that's also shocking.
That's also never happened before, and not like only been filmed or photographed. Like a bunch of
the only people that the Israeli police don't beat are people doing pro-rape riots. Okay.
Yeah, it's like
people who are like.
That's when they put on like the kid gloves. That's when they bring out like the paddy wagon. That's like friendly and
that's
nice.
That's when they open the gates of the military facility that they've detained the rapist concentration guards at and release them into the public. So that's funny though. Knesset guards violently prevent victims' families from attending debate on October 7 probe. Oh my God.
They do this in the street. Like this has happened in the street too. I mean, it's really. And Netanyahu, like he takes like hits, he takes swipes at them.
Oh, it's so insane, bro. Ethan's gonna clip this and be like, Hassan is laughing at the hostage families for getting brutalized by the Israeli police. It is.
I will say I'm impressed with is that like a GIF in the article embed, or is that
Yeah, they made it into a GIF.
That's pretty.
Or GIF.
That's pretty good.
That is, how can people not look at this and be like, this is a troubling sign of a deeply unwell society. Okay. Like, just imagine they're American. Okay. Please. If you have any, I mean, this is a community that gets it.
I would say like one way to put it though is like what is it that's like about coming apart? It's not that like, oh, it's just that like the police are beating these people up. Cause like we've obviously have plenty of videos of like American police beating people up for doing nothing in a room or whatever. But I think what's kind of nuts about this is that like that these people are not given like the equivalent of like sitting in the gallery at the State of the Union for anything October 7th related. Like suggests that they have a political crisis and a social crisis that is tearing the country apart and turning these people into objects of hate by the government itself. That's like which leads to situations like this.
Exactly. And the reason why I always like bring this back to America is because this is me talking to the liberal Zionists, basically the liberal Zionists that live in the United States of America that still have some progressive values they maintain and haven't turned into Michael Rappaport. And they look to stuff like this and think this is simply a byproduct of Benjamin Netanyahu, not recognizing that there is a much larger problem. This is identical to conditions worsening in the United States of America as the American police and the American military become more aggressive towards civilians who have an understandable gripe and a reason to demand an adequate investigation, an independent investigation into the actions that caused their family members to die. Why would a government say, no, we're not going to do that? Why would they do that? If a 9/11 style situation occurred again in the United States of America and the family members were like, wait a minute, there's something really weird about this. Can we look into it? And the American military and American police were beating the shit out of those families.
Yeah, let's be clear. Like there were a bunch of those families in the U.S. They just got ignored, which is like what, at least in Israel's case, like, I mean, part of the problem is that like it points to the schism in this is that like there's a bunch of people in Israel who like maybe that like however they feel about the campaign in Gaza and all this other stuff, like meaning that they're probably for it, but that on the point of like they don't want to see violence against the hostages or whatever. But I mean that to me is like what seems that like it's evidence of how this stuff just gets politicized. It's like, oh, if people do care about it, then let them get hit. You know, like try and show that like you don't care that they have people that care about them or whatever. It's a dissent that doesn't matter.
Genuine, honest, and a bit pessimistic question. Do you genuinely wholeheartedly believe anything good will come out regarding Palestine as a person with family and friends in the region? This has been the case for decades. Nothing new, just another cycle with a 1,000 to 1 kill ratio and no progress. Yes, I do. I definitely do. And I think part of that is because the contradictions worsen, as you see stuff like this happen in Israel, as you see the Israeli economy crumble, as you see the benefits go away, the benefits of being a Western adjacent nation go away for the average Israeli citizens, slowly but surely, they will leave Israel. This is why I regularly maintain the position that the greatest threat to Israel is not Hamas or Iran. The greatest threat to Israel is Sherman Oaks. The greatest threat to Israel is Beverly Hills. The greatest threat to Israel is Boca Raton. Okay? Because if a lot of the people that live in Israel go, why the f am I still here? I don't get any of my treats. I can still listen to the worst psytrance music anyone has ever heard and wear my capri pants in Boca Raton. They're just going to go to Boca Raton. And you're also going to lose, like you're going to inevitably lose like a lot of the academic resources that you have. Like you're going to have intellectuals and academics leave Israel as well, especially with like the academic boycotts that take place too. You're basically shutting off your next generation by behaving in this like incredibly violent way. You're going to have brain drain.
I mean, just yesterday it was reported that there's a professor of computer science at Ben Gurion who posted under like the pseudonym John Brown on Twitter. I've seen his content. You've probably looked at tweets of his at some point or another. Yeah. But he like was suspended from his job, and he was like he was not publicly known that he was tied to this account, and it was because he said that Israeli soldiers had committed war crimes. Yeah. There's a computer science, this is like...
the more shit like that happens, the more you hear about like 500,000 Israelis leaving Israel, the more the Israeli economy becomes unsustainable. That's why I said, that's why I kept repeating over and over again that like this is going to turn into, like Israel eventually, if they follow this trajectory, is going to turn into a nation filled to the brim with just like rabid, uneducated settlers, okay? Ultra fundamentalist, ultra Zionists that simply, are having differences in opinion and differences in agreement in the Knesset over like whether women can read or not with nuclear arms. Like it's just, that's unsustainable, okay? It's going to turn into a pure hog state, which it kind of already is turning into a pure hog state to begin with.
I mean, it's dependent on also like, it's, like similar, I mean, I would argue, like, people want, like, they think everybody wants to be like the U.S. vassal, right? Because they think that they can get to be like Israel, favored military treatment. Yeah. They could develop like a, broad-based, like industrialized society with a middle class and all these different things. And it's like, it just projects this illusion of stability, all those things taken together over the last few years, when like the context in which that state exists has pretty rapidly shifted. And like the context in which that leadership operates, like what they believe. I mean, for example, like Kahana, Mayor Kahana, a guy who was illegal to support in Israel 30 years ago because they thought that his version of extreme Zionism was so dangerous and so self-destabilizing. That's now a norm. And then even in the diaspora, like, Tablet Magazine is running Kahana was right articles. Yeah. You have what were previously understood as effective boundaries for containing the ideology from like running too far amok or whatever. It's all been removed. And it's not because like they made a choice and it could have been undone at some point. Like this was always how it was bound to go.
You see liberal Zionists unironically touting the Kahana line, the Kahanist line of never again just means for Jews. Like that's insane. That's an insane thing to say. The notion that like no, never again wasn't about anybody else. It was just about us. Like what the f are you guys talking about? It's supposed to be about like Jewish militancy, and when you see people who are otherwise supposed to be like progressive accounts on Twitter saying stuff like that, that is a turning point, I think, for average Israeli society and their attitude on these issues.
Capturing this objective. Incoming lethal.
Charlie Sheeher. Apparently Gavin Newsom decided to have Charlie Kirk on his podcast, wherein he agreed 100% with him on trans issues, including agreeing with the framing of gender-affirming care for minors as chemical castration and mutilation of kids. Effing disgusting. Live for spite, F the right, and F anyone rolling over for them. It's funny you say that, Charlie Sheeher, because we had planned on playing this video. We're gonna go through process of elimination for 2028 hopefuls. This is the game that we're playing here. I mean, Gavin Newsom, if he was at the top of your list, is someone on the left. I don't know what to tell you, but I can at the very least educate you now, because this was him on, I guess, the first episode ever of his podcast. He had Charlie Kirk on, and great get. I mean, wow, he's just engaging in ideas, Here,
First guest? Oh
his first guest on This Is Gavin Newsom, talking about how we should throw trans people under the bus.
And play dead.
Roll over. In essence, he said that. I think it was a strategic retreat, right? That we need to come back. Trump's starting to implode. His numbers are getting soft. This was even before the tariff issues, et cetera. And then come back and strike when hot. And I immediately, nobody else thought about you, who's just 24/7 flooding the zone. Back to my 13-year-old, owning this space every day, getting a convert, every day picking up 1, 2, 10,000 folks, continuing the momentum, coming out of this damn election. And then I'm thinking about, we're going to stand back and watch you run circles around us for 6 months, the next 2 or 3 years, waiting for the moment to finally strike. Struck me as not necessarily the best advice, and it's not a knock on Carville, who I have deep respect for. What's your thoughts?
Okay. So I don't have to. He's right about one thing in the last 40 years. It's economy stupid. And boy, he spent down that one line pretty amazingly. But yeah, look, I'll say, I don't want to make this about Carville, but like, yeah, I hope you guys retreat.
You kind of like
more for us. I mean, there's no opposition. There's no activist spark. It's like you guys are posting these cringe videos on social media.
What are the videos? What are the ones?
I don't know, this like harmonious thing of like 22 senators all saying the same thing.
Like that, yeah.
I didn't like it. Go ahead, go do more of that.
What do you do? What do you do? Seriously, Charlie Kirk, give us some advice.
Get better ideas, Governor. Like, for example, I mean, like, if you want to, like, you have an opportunity to, like, run to the middle and seize this mantle. Obviously, you're talking to me about people. Yeah. So, like, you right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports, that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate it.
But, like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. It is an issue of fairness. So it's deeply unfair.
Would you speak out against this young man, A.B. Hernandez, who right now is going to win the state championship in the long jump? I can see you wrestling with it.
No, I'm not wrestling. I'm not wrestling with the fairness issue. I totally agree with you. By the way, as someone with 4 kids, I think
and 2 daughters, right?
2 daughters.
I have a daughter too,
and a wife that went, God forbid, to Stanford and played on the junior national soccer team, and a guy who got into college only because I was left-handed and could throw a baseball a little bit or hit the ball for a little bit. So I revere sports, and so the issue of fairness is completely legit. And I saw that the last couple of years. Boy, did I saw how you guys were able to weaponize that issue at another level.
Not weaponize. That's
well, weaponize maybe pejorative. You're right, but you were able to
shine a light on,
highlight it in a way that, frankly, there are not that many out. We're talking about, I think, NC2A, what, 510,000? No, but I just didn't realize.
890 medals and trophies that we know of in the last 5 years. That's a lot.
No, so I'm going to, let me step back and say completely fair on the issue of fairness. I completely agree. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that. There's also a humility and grace.
So there is a study that's being pushed around that there are 890 medals in 29 different sports. Some journalists, this is it was a UN Special Rapporteur report put together by Reem Aslalem, who is an anti-trans, basically TERF activist. She was the special rapporteur for the UN sexual orientation and gender identity panel, essentially. But it's been highly criticized that she's an anti-trans activist and is a part of this regardless. So that's the study that they're citing. That study double counts things as well. But this is the exact kind of Democrat that we absolutely do not need in running in 2028. There have been analyses about the people of exit polls, and this is different than people who stayed home. I think the studies on the folks that stayed home show that the plurality opinion for Democratic partisans who didn't vote last election was that their motivation was because of Gaza. That's why they didn't show up. But for the people that did show up, trans issues was, I think, ranked 22nd out of 22.